when we speak of a concern, and that too something that is widely available on e-commerce platforms. Now, this is a red flag that is now being raised, where e-commerce platforms that have become part of our daily routine, right from ordering lunch to shopping to our household items. But now the new FATF report has raised serious concerns, claiming that these very platforms may also be exploited when it comes to funding terror operations. Now, the Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF, has released a detailed report on terror financing, highlighting the growing misuse of e-commerce platforms in carrying out terror attacks. This report cites Pulwama and Gorakhnath temple attacks as key examples. Now, remember back in 2019 when the Pulwama terror attack happened, it is one of the still deadliest attacks that have been carried out, where a suicide bomber linked to Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed targeted a CRPF convoy that killed nearly 40 CRPF personnel. Now, the FATF report reveals that the key component that was used in the explosives, that was aluminum powder, was sourced via e-commerce platforms to intensify the blast. Now, in 2022, the Gorakhnath Mandir, the attack that had happened, the accused, who had referred to as individual A, was found to be radicalized by the ISIL. Now, he attacked the temple security and was arrested during the breach investigation that, however, revealed that he transferred nearly 7 lakh rupees abroad using online payment gateways and received foreign funds through the same platform and used VPNs to mask his online activity. Now, that has been a concern that has been raised. As far as Bhavtosh, good morning. The report which says comprehensive update on terror financing risk. This is a multilateral financial watchdog that it says received inputs from delegations and publicly available sources regarding the state sponsorship of terrorism, including groups designated by the United Nations.
Good morning, Amita. In fact, it's a very comprehensive report that has been released yesterday by the FATF, which is the international watchdog. What it mentions is that terror groups, proscribed terror groups, can even misuse e-commerce website and even the payment getaways to carry out terror activities. Now, it has mentioned 2 terror attacks, one at Pulwama, the dastardly terror attack in which 40 brave soldiers were martyred, in which they had already smuggled RDX, but what they needed was aluminum powder, and that aluminum powder was purchased online by them, and then subsequently this terror attack had happened. The other case that they had mentioned in detail is the Gorakhnath temple attack, in which the accused in this case had used the VPN to mask his entire activity. He was directly in touch with the ICL or the Islamic State accused, and then he had subsequently sent around 6,90,000 rupees or 10,000 US dollar, and he was in direct touch with them. He also received around 10,000 rupees or 500 US dollar. Now, entire transaction, the entire transaction was taking place through VPN. Now, it was UPATS who had in fact found out his money transaction. What it shows is that even there could be a misuse of e-commerce site as well as payment getaways. There is an also important finding that has been mentioned in this report is the fact that storage of gold can also be used by proscribed terror outfits like Al-Qaeda. This has been mentioned by India by submitting its finding before the FATF.
Yes, but Bhavtosh, when we speak of India in this regard, because India has repeatedly asserted at international forums that it is Pakistan which openly supports even the UN-listed terror groups. When we speak of Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Lashkar-e-Taiba as well, what can India do now as far as the FATF concerns are being raised? And of course, examples of terror attack that were carried out in India have been mentioned in this report.
Amita, this clearly mentions one thing, or it clearly proves one thing, that FATF has put on record that it was Jaish-e-Mohammed that had carried out the dastardly terror attack in Pulwama. It also mentions one very important thing, that the Gorakhnath temple attack was carried out by Islamic State, and the accused in that case, though a lone wolf, was in direct touch with his handlers, the Islamic State handlers, and he was in fact receiving funds and directions from them. that has now been established by FATF, the international watchdog. And importantly, it also mentions that Al Qaeda in India's subcontinent, they were also receiving or storing gold. It clearly proves two are important things, that these terror outfits are misusing e-commerce sites. Now, earlier the FATF had also mentioned that Pahalgam terror attack. They had mentioned it in one of the reports.
Yes.
This all this proves one thing, that terror outfits, whether it is the resistance force or whether it is Jaish-e-Mohammed, they have been using e-commerce website to carry out these terror attacks.
All right. As far as the FATF, when we speak of that organization, it monitors money laundering, terror financing worldwide, and digital tools and financial technologies that are being exploited by terrorist entities to raise and to move and to manage funds in increasingly sophisticated waves. And an alert now has been sounded. For the moment, thank you very much, Bhavtosh, for joining us here on the broadcast. Now, speaking of the concerns that have also been raised on part of the continuous